chasing the rabbit so you don't have to. Prepper Guy and Big D have joined forces to dig into the issues. Here they are, the two crazy guys.
It always does that.
I know. There we go. All righty, and welcome to another broadcast episode of the Two Crazy Guys. Big D broadcasting from the new studio gigs. I had to change, I actually didn't have to, but I did change my studio setup, so I'm in a new setup. There may be more technical glitches, but that always happens. And on the other side is my cohort in crime, the criminal or crazy guy, whatever you want to call him. His name is Mark Boyle. Say hi to the folks, Mark.
Hey, everybody. Thanks for listening to our show. Yeah, I see your new digs look really good. You had to throw your daughter out to get that, right? Or was that a mutual?
I've commandeered the other bunker. I kicked her out and I moved in. So
there you go. There's only so much room in them bunkers.
Hey, welcome to all you folks tuning in to us today. Today is Sunday, and you're listening to us on KYAH 540 AM, Utah's Talk Authority. Thanks for tuning in. Mark and I have no idea what we're going to talk about today, so it should be an interesting show as always.
Well, we never do, but I had mentioned something to you the other day. I was watching the dumbest smart guy on the news, which was Tucker Carlson. and you know, he's extremely articulate and he's smart right up to a point to where he falls off the crazy, thing there. Yeah. But he was talking to a guy named Mark Morgan. I guess he was former FBI and Border Patrol official. And Tucker laid out a really great case about all of the fraud and the overreach of government on this Mueller investigation and how it was just corrupt from one end to the other.
Yeah.
And they're both going on and on for about 5-10 minutes. And then Tucker goes, how does this happen in a democracy? And other than blood shooting out of my eyes, I was so busy pounding my head on the wall. I was like, it happens in a democracy because that's what a democracy does.
Right.
It's the most of the left think they have the majority. They feel that Hillary won the popular vote, which is still debatable, but who really cares because she didn't win the electoral college, which is the way it works in America.
Right.
And so
it was set up that way by design, but might I add.
Yeah, because it works so damn well. And so he's like, how can this happen in a democracy? And I was just like, because that's what democracies do. And once again, it was like, geez, Tucker, I really like you. And if I could have just grabbed him on the phone or something and said, dude, stop saying democracy, because you can't defend this happening in a democracy when you're thinking that we're not a democracy, or it's such a blurring of the reality of a democracy versus a republic, and I guess he can't see that little distinction there.
Drives me nuts, man. Drives me completely nuts.
Yeah.
I don't know, but listen. So big news.
Oh, good.
Mark, I want you to, in fact, all of you listeners, I want you to pop up some popcorn, throw some extra butter on it, because this year is going to be a heck of a ride. I'm telling you that right now. Attorney General Barr says that he wants a full investigation into who started the whole Russian collusion thing. Oh, yeah. My. Here we go. Remember I said I wanted Hillary investigated? Well, remember this, all right? He also said that he believes that there was wiretapping going on, that they were tapping in on Trump. And this is huge news. Remember Donald Trump, he said he thought that in the Trump Tower that they were being wiretapped. And everybody made a mockery of him. All of the media, everybody said he's crazy, and they laughed at him and they made a mockery of him. And he packed up his gear and moved out of Trump Tower. And come to find out now, the attorney, the new Barr, he believes that there was wiretapping, that they were listening to him. And so he also says that he wants a full investigation into the collusion, into who started the collusion thing. And come on, man, you don't have to be a rocket scientist to figure this one out. We know who did the collusion. We know who did this. We know who set this up. I'm telling you right now, it's getting ready to happen, folks. Grab your popcorn, load the butter on, because we're going to go to the movies, baby.
It's going to be interesting. And, and we had talked about that so many times in the past that wouldn't it be nice if this so-called investigation continued to move on, because the original directive was that they were to look into collusion and Russia and all that. But then, go down the rabbit hole on other things that came up. And I think that the Democrats aren't going to be real happy with what, popped up in their investigation, and so it's going to be nothing but an interesting ride for us watching. It'll be great.
Well, we all know who paid for the fake dossier,
yes,
or dozer, or whatever, however you want to say it.
Yeah.
We know that was Clinton that did that. Mm-hmm. So there's a rabbit hole.
Yeah.
We know that Obama ordered the spying or listening to the Trump administration. So there's another man, this thing is going to take on so many tentacles. It's not even funny. Yeah. And guys, I can't wait.
Yeah. And it's not going to be just a rabbit hole. It's a mine shaft.
Yeah, but
just corruption that when they get down there, they're going to find all these side branch tunnels going everywhere. They're going to be investigating for a long time, and I really hope it happens. I mean, we can pray.
He said that he wants it done. He wants an investigation, and so we all know what that means. We all know that it's. I think, guys. Oh my. The dirt that is going to come out. It's exciting and it's scary at the same time.
Yeah. Well, and do you know much about Barr? I mean, as far as his character and all that, he seems like he was really holding back when he was talking, in the Senate hearings or whatever they were. And you could tell like he was just wanting to say, I've already told you this. But they're like, well, are you going to redact this? And why are you going to do that? Why did you put out a summary statement? And he's just like shaking his head, almost going, are you that dumb?
Yes. Like, well, you notice, when she asked him if he thought there was wiretapping or if somebody was listening to Trump, and he kind of, and then they said, yes, I think so.
Yeah.
So I don't know, man, but we're going to have to wait and see how this plays out, because this could turn out to be a very, very, very interesting
election.
Not just the election, but an investigation.
Well, I was going to say Barr kind of looks like a real pit bull, but more like a bulldog. But he doesn't look like he's going to take a lot of crap, and he seems to be, from what I've seen so far, an honest
I want to see,
an honest player.
I want to see Mueller and Sessions. I want to see them all of them, because they were all involved, Mark.
Right. Yep.
And we all know that. And the listeners, if you're listening and you listen to us kind of on a regular basis, you know that Mark and I are completely nuts. But that's beside the point.
Well, we're not talking about our mental state here now. We're talking about just the fact that we're nuts enough to go down rabbit holes and look around and go, what does this mean for the average American?
Exactly. And this is huge, man. This is huge. This is big, big news, man. And I noticed I haven't seen a whole lot of it being talked about in the media, just little bits and pieces here and there.
Yeah, that's kind of what I use as a barometer to see how legitimate or important a story is the lack of talking about it in the news cycle. Because if they're dead quiet, it's just kind of like that tell, like when someone lets a big smelly one rip, they just stand back like.
Nice analogy there, dude.
Yeah, I'm sorry, but this is going to be a stinky one too for everybody. and so when the media is quiet or they start talking about the weather or other things, then
The distraction.
they don't want to even talk about what's really happening and coming down the
Well,
pike. And so I use that as a barometer to know how important it really is.
but see, the media knows too that they're involved. They're in just as deep as everybody else because they were in on it.
Oh yeah, they were the fuel that was for the fire. You know, they just kept throwing logs in there or whatever. Yeah,
This is going to be a great year.
it really, I think it is. I mean, you know, things are going good. You know, there's a lot of other issues in the world still, or in America even, but
Yeah.
I think if we can get past this Trump thing, and if the media stops talking about it, then maybe they'll find out something good. And maybe we can get on with other things like constitutional carry and gun rights and legalizing things and stopping. I heard a really good, I guess it was a podcast or a video from 10th Amendment Center talking about how states are making it to where they don't enforce federal law, because that's how the feds get their power, is because they only got about 5,000 ATF agents. But when states come in and arrest people for growing pot or making raw milk and stuff, it's the states that perpetrate the brutality and the blackmail, I guess, from federal law. So it was really good. So we got a lot of iron still in the fire to save America and the Republic. But
Absolutely.
this will be a great start.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, the redacted report is coming out, Mueller's redacted report. Now, we know that's a nothing burger because I assure you, you know as well as I do that if there was anything in there, it would have been all over the place.
Yeah.
So, you know, and so that's due out, and that's only because the Democrats pitched such a little temper tantrum. And it's only just making them show, it's just showing what real fools they really are.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And
So-
they really get up pretty high in the foolish level, you know.
Absolutely.
And it, you know, it's just most people like you and I think even most, you know, Americans with a lot of, you know, sense know that there's something there. There is a there. And
Yeah.
hopefully Barr can bring it out and bring it to light to where at least we can look at it, you know, and make up our own mind.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you know, so it's just going to be an interesting, there's just going to be, the timing is phenomenal for this whole thing. Absolutely phenomenal. Look, we are going to have to run into a break, but we will be back. Mark and I, the two crazy guys, will be back right here on KYAH in Deltec, Utah. Thanks for listening, and we will be back right after this, so don't go away.
We interrupt your programming. This is a national emergency. Important instructions will follow.
This tornado just touched down. Well, you can see it from right here. It's ripping up trees. It's ripping up everything in its sight. If you're above ground...
Let's talk about tea. Not just any tea, getthetea.com. They have all kinds of cool stuff. They have cleansing teas, they have stuff for eye health, stuff from the sea, immune support, stamina and energy, food and protein, and just all kinds of cool stuff. Log on to the website at www.getthetea.com. Log on now.
Talking the issues and taking the hit. Here they are, the two crazy guys.
All righty, welcome back from the break. Thank you very much, Eric. And we'd like to also thank our sponsors over at getthetea.com. Good people, good tea, man. I've been taking that stuff, and it's So the one I'm taking is a cleanse, and man, it works great. Yeah, and I just can't say much enough about it. Listen to Lisa during the commercial. She'll tell you all about it. And but good stuff. So make sure you go over to getthetea.com. Also, we'd like to invite you to log on to ContraRadioNetwork.com, as well as PrepperGuy.com, RedStateUnderground.com. All those cool websites, man. They all have cool stuff on them. And then, of course, now there's Two Krazy Guys as well. And we are on YouTube now, right, Mark?
Yes, we got the YouTube channel, Two Krazy Guys.
Right on.
And last week's episode, I decided instead of breaking it up into the parts like we do with the radio show, I just made one long video. And turned out really good. I threw in a promo I made for Contra Radio Network, which was pretty cool.
Very cool.
So I get everything in there. It's got all the websites listed so people can actually write them down. But finally got that all set up and working. So
awesome. Yeah. And if you're listening to us up there in Utah, make sure you call the station and tell them, hey, man, you're listening to us. And if you like what we have to say, make sure you let them know, because that definitely helps us out.
Yeah, and if you don't like what we're saying, just don't call them.
No news is bad news.
Actually, call them and let them know that if we can improve. I don't mind criticism at all.
Exactly.
I mean, I'm married, so.
Yeah, exactly. Me too. And so, we talked a little bit in the first segment about, the collusion investigation and all this other stuff. And man, I think you're going to see a ball of fireworks like we've never seen. At least I hope we're going to see a ball of fireworks like we've never seen before. And so, we are coming into an election cycle. The 2020 election is right around the corner, and you've got, gropey Uncle Joe Biden. How about that cat, huh? He has not yet formally announced, but it looks like, just like what I said, Beto O'Rourke does not seem to be, even though the media is pushing him, he does not seem to be taking off like what they expected. And right now it's looking like, old Bernie Sanders, the washed up socialist, is pulling ahead right now. And I saw I'm not really poll friendly because, polls can do whatever they want.
Yeah.
But the polls that I saw, these are their polls, show Joe Biden in the lead, and he hasn't even announced yet.
Oh, my God. Yeah, so another poll. Whatever.
Yeah. Now, these are the same people that told us, remember, folks, Donald Trump could never be president. The same polls that told us all the way up through election night that Hillary Clinton has a 100% chance of winning the election.
Yeah, I think the polls were showing that Trump had got 0 votes in all 50 states right up until he won.
Right.
And so you can't, polls are, I studied statistics in college, and it's all man-made information. It depends on how they ask it.
Yeah, exactly. That's all it is. They can lead whatever answer they want just by asking the question a certain way. But these are their polls. And like I said, I saw a thing with a crowd at Beto O'Rourke's thing, and there must have been a whole maybe 150 people there. And like I said, remember, every time they show the Democrats speaking, they always keep the camera focused on the candidate. They don't pan around like they do with Trump.
Right. Yeah.
So,
the only reason I would worry about a clown like Bernie Sanders is he does have a lot of the younger kids that want to vote for. It's as bad as Hope and Change, but same thing, free stuff.
Well, yeah. And you know what I think? I look for either him or Beto to take off and fly to the moon. I think both of them are on crack, man. This with Beto O'Rourke and his hands going, and Bernie Sanders and his body waving and all this other shit. I'm like, crap, take off already, man.
Yeah, and go somewhere else. Well, but it's hard for Republicans, even a guy like Donald Trump, because it's just too hard to tell people, I'm going to give you more free stuff than he is, because everyone knows that the Democrats and the socialists just hand out candy like every day is Halloween.
Right.
And so it's hard to go to the American people and go, you don't want this free stuff. It's not free. And so it makes it difficult. And I think Bernie Sanders would be an obstacle more for Trump than anyone else, in the Democrat Party, only because he's talking about so much free stuff. And he does it in a way to where you go, well, that almost makes sense. It's like, oh, you're going to give me enough rope. I'm going to tie it around my neck and jump out of a tree. But that's like bungee jumping, right? And he presents it in a way to where it sounds better than it is. So on issues and the reality and the math and the economics, it doesn't work. But you can't tell some people that 2 and 2 is 4. They don't believe it. So I see him being more of a threat. I don't think he would be a victorious threat, but I think it would.
I don't think the Democrats have anybody in their lineup that even stands a remote chance of taking down Trump.
How about Pocahontas and Bernie Sanders? No,
not even close. No. I don't see anybody in the lineup that is even going to come close. Hillary was probably the best opponent that they had for Trump.
Yeah, and he mopped the floor with her.
He tarred and feathered her like there was no tar and feather to be had.
Yeah. Well, and then we have, what's his name? The other guy. He's not a black guy, but he looks black. But he's Italian or Irish or something.
Cory Booker.
Yeah, and they say he's really not from wherever he says he's from.
Spartacus.
I am Spartacus. It's like,
Spartacus.
okay, aren't we all? I mean, if you're going to listen to
Spartacus ain't doing nothing, man. In fact, I think the poll I saw, he was last.
Oh, really?
So, yeah, I just don't see anything happening. I don't see any excitement right now happening in the Democratic base. Now, it's still early, but I just don't see any real excitement. But, when you see Trump out there campaigning, oh, my God, man, people come from miles around, thousands of people. Let's just hope those thousands of people turn out to vote, huh?
They did last time, and I think we will this time, too, because it's important. And I think most conservatives and even Republicans know that there's some importance. Last election was, they got a lot of the sane Republicans got sold this never Trump thing, and they were buying into all the BS. But I think this year they'll be able to look at it and go, now he's done a lot of good for the country, just from a Republican platform viewpoint. And so I think he will get more votes, from the Republican Party this time. That's my opinion.
Well, I'm not sure how the whole thing's going to pan out just yet. We have time, and only time will tell.
Yeah.
But like I said in the first segment, we need to butter up the popcorn.
Yeah. What am I supposed to eat? I don't do popcorn. Dang. I get pork rinds, barbecue pork rinds.
Yeah,
well, I think the Democrats are probably actually not putting a lot of people out there because they know this Barr investigation might just wipe them right off the debate stage, in the coming months or, within the next, how many more months before the election? It seems like tomorrow, but
it does. But I mean, we still got, you got the rest of 19 and then most of 20. So
18, 16 months. So you don't know what Barr might do to the Democrat Party just with allegations and stuff.
Time, like I said, time will tell. I'm really hoping, Mark, that this is what I've been waiting for all this time. That finally somebody is going to investigate Hillary and Obama and that whole criminal crime spree. Oh, what about Assange? Assange was arrested too just the other day.
Oh man, that poor guy. I mean,
here you go. Here you have a man that's leaking the truth, that's reporting the truth, and he gets arrested.
Right.
Then you have CNN and NBC and all these other agencies that make up the news, and it's free game for them.
And they're leaking confidential documents sometimes. And they get a pass, but Julian Assange is just leaking information that he got that's almost practically public knowledge. compiled, you know, in a better way, and they want to burn him at the cross or stake or whatever they call that.
Man. So, and then one other thing real quick, just, we got a couple of minutes left here, just over a couple of minutes. I saw a thing, a headline over on Drudge where Trump is considering releasing immigrants into sanctuary cities.
I guess if they want them, you know, that's.
Oh man.
Why deny them what they really want? You know?
I mean, you just, come on, man. Trump, you just when you think you got him figured out, man, he comes up with something else, man.
Yeah.
And that's just the way I love that. That's why I voted for President Trump, because he's an outsider and he likes to shake the tree up, and they don't like it. And it's funny because the man has figured out he can walk. I bet he wakes up in the morning and goes, Melania, watch this. And he walks out onto the West Lawn and says a few words and just totally disrupts the whole stock market.
Yeah. Yeah. The whole news cycle changes the minute he tweets or speaks.
But so and then right below that it says dump in Pelosi district. In other words, it's going to send them all over to Pelosi's district, and it says the Democrats are furious about it.
But why? They love.
I love it.
They love all these immigrants. They're Americans, and they're just like you and I.
Man, we are witnessing true. We are witnessing something that we will probably never see again in our life. We have a president that loves to play with the Democrats like they're little pawns on a chessboard, man.
Yeah.
And he knows just what piece to move and where to move it to torque people off.
Right. and you know, the Democrats, when they go into say something so off the wall, they just go, well, we're just trying to start a conversation. Well, Trump's just trying to start a conversation then. It's like, well, you like all these illegals so much, we're just going to send them right to your state. You know.
Yep, that's right. I think it's great. I think it's absolutely great, man.
I do too. And these sanctuary states and cities, they're just looking for trouble. Only problem is when their system collapses with all these illegals, they're already here. So then they might come over, you know, and start migrating across the country. So I guess the wall needs to take a hard right and go north at California, and then we can actually just maybe sell California back to Mexico.
Yeah.
And
well, we're gonna have to go to a break. We will be back right after this, so don't go away.
They call me the general. I don't mean to be crass. I'm gonna take it to the limit 'cause it's time to kick some real ass. The king, the royal, his highness, the honcho. I'll kick it to him like a macho Camacho. See, he's got the moves. He's with the power of the year. You tried to catch me, but you couldn't 'cause I shifted into fifth gear. We'll rise above. We're working the transcendence. Shout it out. We declare independence. I get chilly down in Philly, y'all. You know it's my town. He's as ancient as a mariner. He's still get down. You see, I get electric when I fly my kite. He's getting bigger on the trigger. Pop, pop in the gunfight. Time to be gonna kick some common sense. Gathering up the men to take it on the offense. Sun is rising. It's a sign of our ascendance. Up to the race. We declare independence. Tom and Jay, I'm the man with the grand plan in my right hand. He's kicking grab, I'm gonna take it to the promised land. Bust some crazy raps with the paper and the pen. He's rocking it on the mic to the king and his henchmen. I wrote the letter and my homies called the team back. Johnny ain't trying to kick it on the dotted line. Free from Virginia is required by attendance. We're here to tell you we declare independence.
Talking the issues and taking the hit. Here they are, the two crazy guys.
All right, welcome back to the third segment of today's program. And just before the break, Mark and I were laughing and having a good time talking about how Trump just loves to he loves to mess things up, and in a good way, because he's an outsider. And that was the whole reason. Look, I remember a few years ago, even before Obama, people were toying with Trump running for president. I was like, I'd vote for him, just because I know how he is. I know his character, and he's not an inside guy. He's not a politician. And it's funny to go out there and listen to him. He just gets on a little rant, and then he goes and goes and goes. And it's just, it's like the Energizer Bunny, man. I think he thrives on that, man.
I think so. Trump is the fly in the liberals' ointment. I mean, he drives them bananas,
Yeah, they haven't figured him out.
And he does it so smoothly. Like you said, he just gets up and goes, watch this, hold my beer. But he doesn't drink.
Right. Oh, that was Kavanaugh. Kavanaugh's like, I saw that meme. It was Trump. He's like, nobody can piss off the people like I can. And then Kavanaugh's like, hold my beer, Mr. President. Trump is a go-getter. He's a hard worker. He works very, very hard, harder probably than any president that I've known of in recent history anyway.
Well, and a lot of people don't understand, like his family. I mean, he's got a lot of, training, going to he didn't go to West Point, but he went to that military school and stuff. So he understands things. But I think one of his sisters is a justice or a judge at some high level court, like a federal judge. So he can find out things, well, maybe I should do this and not that. So we look at Trump and we just think, oh, he's just a businessman with no political ties. But he knows a lot of really influential people that can lead him in the right direction. Just, like Rush Limbaugh, I think one of his brothers is a lawyer and his father was a judge or something. So we listen to them, but we forget their background. They do know what they're talking about. Even Alex Jones, as crazy as people think he is.
Let me say
he's very
this.
good at history, and when he says something, he can back it up with miles of facts.
Let me just say this. Alex Jones is a great American patriot.
He is.
And I forget who I was talking to about this. Maybe it was even you. It was, in fact, you on the telephone, on the telly, when we called on the telly. And I was talking to you about how they pulled him, they censored him, they completely censored him. Yeah. They pulled him off of YouTube, they pulled him off of Facebook. They've completely, and look, they did it to Michael Savage. Same thing, man. Michael Savage is still out there going on the radio, but I mean, not in such a grandiose scheme. But what they did to Alex Jones is unthinkable. And I'll tell you, another great American patriot is I lost my train of thought, Mark.
Oh, well, I was going to mention you were talking about Michael Savage. Yeah. And they didn't do the same thing they did to Alex Jones, but then they took his slot, which was the #1 rated show in San Francisco at that time slot, and they moved him over and put Ben Shapiro in there, which you'd think, oh, well, Ben Shapiro's a good guy, but he's not a Michael Savage. He's not even in the same league when it comes to knowledge and information.
Right.
So
Roger Stone, that's who I was thinking of.
Yeah, look what they did to that man, and
Roger Stone is a great American patriot, my friend. Yeah. God bless you, Mr. Stone.
Yeah. And you see what these people are doing, and it's just, it's compliments of the FCC and all these bureaucracies we've allowed to be set up in our name. And then we think they're trying to help us, and they're not. And so this is what you get in a democracy. Oh, how can this happen in a democracy?
Oh, I wonder. I wouldn't know, because we don't have a democracy. We have a republic.
Oh, so this is how it happens in a democracy, is the mob rules over the plebes. Since we're a republic, this shouldn't be happening in a republic.
Right.
That's what Tucker should have said. See,
that's what he should have said.
well, okay, we'll cut him a little slack because
So I do like Tucker Carlson. Don't get me wrong. I do. He's a smart guy. He knows what he's talking about. I just wished you knew we lived in a republic.
If he could just get that one fact straight, I wouldn't call into question all of his other facts.
Yeah, exactly.
Because, maybe once or twice this is slip up, like, Trump might have said in a speech or something.
He did.
Yeah.
I was ready to throw rocks at the TV too.
Except it's like, no, that's a lot of money. I'm not going to throw a rock through my TV. I'll wait.
Right.
What's her name? Judge Janine Shapiro.
Oh, yeah.
She called it a democracy. And it's like, okay, either they've all, IQs have dropped on some of these networks, or there's some kind of underlying conspiracy or agenda going on to slowly start spoon feeding us democracy.
Well, that's what it is. Bing, bing, bing. You hit the nail on the head. You hit the nail directly on the head. You get to go past go, collect $200, and then go straight to jail.
I'll take the $200, but that wouldn't even pay my
you
bill.
hit it on the you hit it on the head, man. The whole thing is they're trying to convince everybody that it's a democracy. I mean, they're training our students in school at a very young age that, it's a democracy. They're all the way through high school, all the way through college, those that go to college. They watch it on TV, they hear it on the radio, democracy, 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 and they begin you tell somebody something enough, they begin to believe it.
Right.
And so therefore when they actually do pass the Green New Deal and they do convert us from a republic to a functioning democracy, then it won't be so hard to condition the folks to know that we live in a democracy.
So basically, America has become one giant relocation camp and education camp. We just don't see it because they look, long range. Their plan, like the Fabian Society and them, have been, planning and plotting for over 100 years.
Right.
Because they know you just can't fool all the people at one time.
That's
but
right.
You can definitely pull the wool over their eyes one at a time.
So when part of the dumbing down of America, which they're already doing in the schools, and, in the conditioning of America, which they're already doing everywhere you go, all day, every day, the democracy, pretty soon you begin to believe it, so that when they do convert it into a functioning democracy, then the folks already know we live in a democracy and the republic is gone. And it's not such a hard battle then, because the people have already been conditioned to accept what it is they're already trying to give you.
Right. And people that aren't getting educated, and I don't mean like, going to college or reading, college level history books and stuff, but, you look at most of, I'm not going to say most, black people, think that it was the Democratic Party that gave them civil rights, that gave them all this stuff, when actually it wasn't. And none of the Democrats voted for any of that stuff. It was the Republicans.
Right.
But over time, they've been told and told and told. And if you're not paying attention, at least in a civics class in school, then you're not going to pick it up. And some of these schools in these inner cities are so poorly run that they're allowed to teach falsehoods. And so even if you're paying attention in school, you're getting BS.
Well, there was a story, I think it was just here in the last week or so, of a grade school teacher actually forcing her student to, because she picked Donald Trump as her hero, and she forced her student to pick somebody else.
Right. And it's like, what's up with that? I mean,
it's crazy.
And the parents in a lot of these, I guess they're inner cities or something, the bigger areas, the parents don't have time, even if they're good parents,
right,
to be that hands-on with their children's education.
Or they don't care.
Yeah. Or they've been, taught that, in school also. So, why would you as a parent say, go argue with the teacher on that when you kind of believe it too, because that's what you were taught to believe.
Right.
And so you can see how when, Reagan and the founders and everybody said, you're only a few generations away from tyranny. You really are. You get the parents, and then you get the kids, and well, sure enough, the next generation, they're going to think you're going to put your eye out with a BB gun, which you can do. But most people aren't that stupid.
Only if you do it wrong, Mark.
Right.
So yeah, I was having a discussion today with an individual about that. We were talking about the Second Amendment. And, the Second Amendment has nothing to do with gun control. It's all about a principle that you have the right to defend yourself against a tyrannical government.
Right.
And, the First Amendment goes in hand with the Second Amendment. And the Second Amendment, the First Amendment, says that you have the right to peaceably protest your government when your government's doing wrong. Well, you can't do that if you don't have the Second Amendment, because the Second Amendment is what guarantees you the right to do the First Amendment.
Right. And so
See, and it was genius the way they set this country up, man.
Yeah. And we were talking about that the other day when we were on the telly. And that
Ringy-dingy.
what is that?
I can't believe I just did that.
But we were, talking about, I just lost my train of thought. So good thing it's almost time for a break, because maybe I can go find my thoughts.
I made you forget.
That is not hard to do. Well, I mean, just the wind blowing in a certain direction, and I know, man. It goes in one ear, and
I had that happen when I was trying to think of Roger Stone a while ago. But yeah. It's the way the Constitution is such an amazing document.
Yes.
And it's so sad that those in power now, well, I don't want to say in power, because I don't like to use that word, but those that are making the rules, the lawmakers, they just want to crumple it up and throw it in the trash, because it's hindering them from doing what they want to do.
But that's the key, what they want to do. See, it has nothing anymore to do with we the people.
No.
It has to do with the ruling class and what they want to do. And we're just now become a stumbling block for these, I'm just going to call them a bunch of asshats, because that's what they are. I think that word is okay.
Sorry, I sent Mark a meme the other day, and I'm not going to say what it said on here, but I thought it was funny. We'll talk about it during the break, which, by the way, we have to take a break. So we will be back right after this for the final segment of the program today.
Here is a former Obama legal counsel expecting to be indicted in the Mueller case.
Attorneys for Greg Craig, Obama's chief legal counsel when he was president, have given a press conference and expect their client to be indicted.
You think Trump derangement syndrome is bad now, folks? Wait till the president starts moving against Obama legally. Wait till indictments start rolling. Wait till they reinvestigate the Clinton email investigation. Wait till it comes out all the perjury of James Comey and Clapper and Brennan and all of them. And they will get even more violent. They will get even more hateful. They will get even more rash, because they're not in control anymore. They've been totally brainwashed. They're in a death cult. And we have to remain steadfast and realize what we're in this for. And that's going to be the key.
And welcome back to the final segment of today's program. It's been a little bit of mix and mash of everything else. Today is Sunday, the 14th, and we'd like to welcome you and thank you for listening to us here on KYAH 540 AM, Utah's Talk Authority. Mark, I know you like to wrap things up in a pretty little bow, which we have yet to accomplish on this program. So I'm going to lean it to you and see if you can do it this time.
I probably can't. Well, that's just in my podcasts. I try to, because I rant and rave so much.
Yeah.
And I will end up going way off in many directions, but I try to, pull it back unless my brain shuts off, and then I just keep going. But I would think that, We do have an election coming up. I think this Barr investigation will help us maybe pick better candidates, elect better candidates, because there's also going to be other elections going on besides just, the president. And I watched a really good video from Chris Ann Hall the other day, and it was a CNN interview, or no, a C-SPAN interview. So they're not as biased. And
Right.
and he asked her, he goes, well, what do you think of President Trump so far? She's a constitutionalist, and she makes you and me look a little more on the fence when it comes to constitutional issues, only because she's more articulate, I think. But she goes, well, I don't judge any president by their party when I evaluate them. She goes, I balance them up against the Constitution. And she goes, so our president really only has certain duties, and those are external. He's a liaison between us and other countries for trade agreements and all that, and he represents us overseas. And so she goes, most of the presidents, like the wars are not constitutionally mandated wars, so there's not a congressional act of war. And so she goes, when I look at a president, how closely are they following, the Article 2 of the Constitution and what is laid out for them? And I thought that was an interesting way to look at it, because, we do get that myopic view of, well, I'm a Republican, how's my guy doing? I'm a Democrat, how's my guy doing? When really we should be looking at it and going, here's what the Constitution expects of a president. How's our president doing? And when you look at it that way, you see that there's really not a whole lot the guy should be doing internally with the country. But I think this investigation, whatever Barr does, is going to help at least shine light on a lot of the people we've voted for in the past, not just for president, but for senators and congressmen and stuff, to where maybe we could make a better decision this time, because more states are involved in the corruption than we know. It's, you got these senators voting on bills that take away your gun rights. The state, look at New York, you can't get a gun if you wanted to, even though the Heller decision said it's constitutional. So it's the local level, from state down, that really, pass these rules that say we will enforce federal law when they don't have to. And then it makes your life and my life on a state level much more complicated.
Right.
So that's how I would wrap it up. I just, as far as I'm concerned, I think, popcorn's a good idea, and watching this, whatever it's going to be called, it's going to be great.
Oh, it is. It's going to be proportion of a great proportion, unlike anything we've ever seen. If it goes down the way I think it's going to go down, because I think, look, man, I think that this is going to go down huge. Yeah. I think it's going to be slow to start, but I think once it starts gaining a little bit of traction and starts gaining some momentum, oh my goodness, it's going to be a roller coaster ride of enormous proportions.
I like roller coasters.
Yeah, so do I. And I like popcorn too. So yeah, I'm a big fan of, not so much party line voting. I have conservative views and values, and so therefore I tend to agree more with the right than I do the left, only because the crap that the left comes up with is just, some of it is unbelievable. And and I know that, for instance, gun rights, I'm a gun advocate. I am a very staunch Second Amendment supporter. And the Second Amendment to the Constitution, it says, that the security, it's necessary, a well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state, the right to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. Think about what that says. Now, a militia, if you look up a militia basically is a group of individuals acting within the confines of the law.
Right.
Okay. So basically, if you translate the Second Amendment literally, it says a group of individuals operating within the confines of the law, which is necessary to the security of a free state. In other words, you and I and a group of individuals that are acting within the confines of the law, that is necessary for the security of our freedom.
Right.
And if the right to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed, it has nothing to do with gun control. It has everything to do with the principle that you have a right to defend yourself against a tyrannical government.
Correct.
And you cannot, the security of our freedoms, of our liberties, cannot be guaranteed if we do not have the right to defend those freedoms and those liberties.
Well, a perfect example is look at Mexico. They had a great country. If you look at some of their history, they had commerce, they had nice buildings, they had land ownership and everything. When they became disarmed is when they lost it, because they couldn't protect their liberty.
What's the first thing Hitler did?
It took away their guns, and then boom, they could not defend their liberty, their rights. What they believed that they should do was right. What are you going to do? Throw dirty words at them?
Look at Cuba.
Oh God, I don't like.
Look at Venezuela. Look at Venezuela. Look at Russia.
Yep.
Look at North Korea.
Yeah.
Okay. So, that's why they were smart enough to put that in there. And just the wording is just mesmerizing.
Yeah.
In how it's worded, because they understood that in order for us to be able to secure our freedoms, as long as we're standing within the lines of the law, we have the right to keep and bear arms in order to defend our liberties.
Correct.
It's pure genius.
What we should do maybe on our show is maybe take one word and talk about it once in a while. At least have a small part of a segment and just go, what does the word infringe mean? Because the writers of the Constitution, they didn't just throw words in there like a text and misspell it.
Very well thought out, man.
Yeah, we were talking about that the other day. That's what I was going to bring up that I forgot. It's about, how it used to be life, liberty, and property. And then the Thomas Jefferson and those that wrote it, they said, well, let's use the word happiness, because back then happiness meant you own property. These are things that made you happy. You had your own property that you owned, your own possessions and things that were yours. And that's what made people happy as far as the definition back then. And so, you look at the word infringed or alienated or all these things, they're real simple, but we look at the word and we think, well, how do I text that word, and it wasn't that way. It was used as a legal document.
That's right.
And so it was legal speak, just like whereas and therefore has certain meanings in a court of law.
Yeah.
And so it's important to know the language of the Constitution, even though it's
absolutely, man. English. Words are just words, Mark, though.
Yeah. Nowadays, the words are text.
Yeah. You have to be careful, because they can play on words and make them change the meaning.
Right. They can do that with the 1984 Orwell, double speak. They can do that.
So that's why they were very careful when they framed our Constitution. They were very careful in how things were said, how things were worded. And, there's a lot of segments in the Constitution that people will try to take out of context, or that they don't understand. And that's how you get this whole gun control and all this other stuff. But the Second Amendment is not about gun control at all. No. It's a principle. It's about a principle.
Right. And it doesn't, it doesn't mean like a grouping of 2 inches for gun control. It means, they want to control your right to own a gun. And constitutionally, it's wrong. And that's where states have stepped in, and they go, we will enforce federal law. And even though your state constitution says that that's repugnant and most states even believe in the Second Amendment. But then the bureaucrats at large will go, oh, we're going to enforce this federal federal firearms law with sawed-off shotguns or automatic weapons, and then they're the ones that come and arrest and prosecute. And so it's an uphill battle. Sometimes I just want to throw my hands up and go bug out, but I can't, because I'm stuck here and I got a life and a job and a business and 2 businesses now. So
congratulations.
Might as well continue to fight.
Well, you have to. That's the whole thing, is we have to stand our ground, and the people have gotten so compliant, or so complacent is the word I'm looking for today, ladies and gentlemen, is complacent.
Right.
And we've gotten to the point where we're like, well, I don't care. I don't want to hear anything about politics. I don't care. But then one day you're going to wake up and you're going to look around and you're going to think, oh my gosh, I'm sitting here in a boxcar. I don't even know where I'm at, and I have no way to defend myself or get out of it.
Right. And you have to be vigilant and avoid being put in the boxcar. And you can't do that if you don't have a gun, if you don't have free speech, if you don't have a way to defend yourself.
Well, we're going to have to end the program today, folks.
We're going to have to bug out.
So, listen, I want to thank you all for tuning in. And until next week, I'm Donald Lowry, a.k.a. Big D, and that's
Mark Boyle, the prepper guy, a.k.a. Krazy number 2.
Amen. Hey, we'll catch you next week, folks. Thanks for tuning in.
Yes.
All right. Bye-bye.
Thanks for tuning in. Catch them next time as they dig into the issues. The 2 crazy guys. Log on to the website at www.contraradionetwork.com.